What is up, everyone? I'm Ryan from Fireside Knicks with my friend and co-host Dylan Backer, and in today's episode, we're talking about Quentin Grimes and whether we think he can take that big leap in year 3. Obviously, the Knicks, I think, got a really strong season from him in year 2. He was their primary go-to guy in tough defensive assignments in that starting lineup. In fact, in terms of matchup difficulty, he had the hardest matchup difficulty in the NBA last season amongst qualified defenders. So, I thought he did a really good job of taking on large responsibilities despite being, again, a second-year player last year. He shot the ball well from 3, inconsistent at times, but you kind of expect that from a young player. His efficiency was good. I thought he overall provided a lot of the things the Knicks kind of need as a team. We talked about this in the RJ video, kind of like those 3 area points: free throw shooting, 3-point shooting, and defense. And while, again, the free throw shooting as a team still needs to get better, I thought he added in terms of 3-point percentage and defense really well. And I think he has the potential to be more than just a 3-and-D guy. I think we saw some of those shot creation abilities, the ability to attack. I mean, he has explosiveness at the rim. And overall, I thought he was a really good, he showed a lot of positive signs last year. So, Dylan, I wanted to get your thoughts on Quentin Grimes and, of course, how are you doing today, my friend? Let's get into it.
Right, so, Quentin Grimes in year 2 was a pretty good success, honestly, for a second-year player, especially considering that he didn't play a whole lot in year 1. Year 2, he averaged 11 points. He shot close to 40% from 3 and like 46% from the field. Very solid year, and of course, like you said, the defensive assignments, he had the hardest defensive assignments out of basically anybody, which is always a positive development thing for young players, having to always guard the team's best player. That's always a good thing, and right there, that would give him a lot of experience, I think, for year 3 when he, now that he has this experience under his belt and he's got playoff experience now. And I know the playoffs was rough for Grimes, but it's his first playoffs. Let him get his feet wet in the playoffs a little bit, and surely this Knicks team looks poised to continue to make the playoffs again for the next few years. So as long as Grimes is still around, in these upcoming seasons, then he'll get used to the playoffs eventually. And he, like you said, he could be more than a 3-and-D guy. We obviously saw he was exceptional at that. He came into the rotation, pretty much slotted in for Evan Fournier because Fournier can't play defense, so they took him out of there. And with Grimes, you get pretty much the same level of shooting as Fournier gives you, but with defense. So that's a plus right there, and that's hence why he was playing. But the explosiveness, like you said, he's able to get to the rim pretty easily. That pump fake in the corner and then he drives to the basket, it kills defenders every time because they're always looking for him to shoot it because he gets such a fast release and he plays like his hair is on fire, so they just don't expect it. That dump off pass he makes to the inside to Mitch, it works all the time. I mean, he's very athletic for a guy that doesn't get the ball a whole lot because he's playing as like a spot up guy when he's playing alongside Jalen Brunson. He's sneaky athletic, and I think he can, utilize that a little more next season, granted if he's still with this Knicks team, of course, but I expect him to, but, we're just going to talk about it as if he will be, I think he can use those, athletic abilities to his advantage, though. It can help, create more offense, create better spacing. Hopefully there's more shooters around this Knicks team this time, so, we'll have more spacing overall, better offensive flow. That Grimes already plays really fast, so the pace won't be an issue. It's just a matter of can we get open shots and stuff like that. I think another thing too for Grimes in year 3, just more confidence. There were times it felt like he was a little reluctant to shoot threes or something like that. Like it looked like he was worried about entering slumps, and it looked like he was trying to overthink a little bit and try to force plays to happen when really he wasn't just playing with the flow of the game. He was kind of just trying to make things happen, by going way too fast and something like that. Those are what young players do. They try to do more than they need to do, and he'll learn from that. It'll be part of the growing process, and hopefully next season he gains more confidence. He's able to just play with the rhythm of the game, takes more shots, because I do want to see him shoot the ball. That's why he is on the court, so I do want to see him shoot a lot. He has such a fast release that defenders can't close out very quickly on him. So take advantage of that. Shoot the ball. Let it fly. You know what I mean? That's why he's out there. We need shooting. Need respectable shooters. And he's clearly proven to be a very respectable 3-point shooter. So for me, it's like take advantage of that. Shoot more of those. It's kind of all I got to say to start this off. What do you think about that?
Yeah, end of the day, the Knicks are a team that, again, has historically speaking, this isn't even just like a recent trend. They've always kind of needed spacing. That's always kind of been a consistent issue. But their ability to get that type of shooting and that type of offense from Quentin Grimes is obviously a plus. And I think going forward, right, the confidence to take those threes, having that quick release that we can see occasionally, just getting a little more consistent. That's really all it's going to take for Quentin Grimes to go from, a solid role player to one of the better players on a team that's a consistent playoff contender. I feel like sometimes that gets a little bit, that gets a little bit underplayed, right? Like let's say it how it is, right? Quentin Grimes was the primary defensive option on a Knicks team that was the 5th seed, made the postseason, and won a playoff series, right? When you contextualize that, it suddenly becomes a lot more impressive, right? You know what I mean? Like, this is a team that was highly successful in the regular season, won a playoff series, battled with Miami, who's in the finals right now. Am I sitting here and saying, that because they battled with Miami, that's like congratulations, we battled. I'm not hanging a banner for that, but I'm just saying, it's not like they got curb stomped. But all things considered, I think you and I can agree that year 2 was successful, and year 3 can really, it's really shaping up that, of course, if he's here, because inevitably, if you're a good enough young player, you're obviously going to be thrown into trade talks, which is kind of the nature of the NBA. But if he's able to really, continue to build off of that year 2, you can see a year 3 where, he's pushing, 6-7 attempts from 3, shooting close to, or if not better than 40% from 3. And now we're talking about a sharpshooter on high volume who's highly valuable. Of course, playing good defense. You mentioned the experience you get from taking tough defensive assignments. You feel like he can get better in that regard. There were stretches where he would get torched in the season, and then he would build off of that. The ups and downs, the highs and lows of an NBA season. People oftentimes make this expression for baseball because it's a 162-game season, but 82 NBA games is grueling. It takes a lot on you. It's a contact sport. There are a lot of situations where you're going to be worn down and your body's not going to be feeling great. When you play back-to-backs, that's not going to be great. You constantly travel. That's never great. But end of the day, right, if he's able to build off of that and just get a little bit better defensively and a little bit better from 3 and a little bit more consistent in terms of, shot creation, now we're talking about a really well-rounded player and kind of looking at how Emmanuel quickly got to the point where he got to. First year, great offensive player, not really much of a defender. Year 2 takes a step back in efficiency, improves in defense. And then year 3, everything just gels together. The defense is really good. The offense is really good. And he almost won 6th man of the year. I still believe he should have won 6th man of the year, but that's my personal opinion, and I'm not going to get too caught up in that. But end of the day, right, that year 3 leap, right, you finally have 2 years of NBA experience underneath your belt. And in Quentin Grimes' case, as you mentioned, he didn't play as much in year 1, so it's a little bit tough to really count that as a year's worth of experience, but nonetheless still has more than a year of experience in the NBA, has experience in the postseason. I think that's really valuable, has experience playing a high level role for a really good team. I think that's critical as well. And, the Knicks, I think, are going to only get better as a roster, so I think that can alleviate some of the pressure off of Grimes in terms of certain defensive assignments. He can get some help defenders on him, perhaps. I know the Knicks are going to go out and try to get better defensively. That's an area where they need help. Josh Hart being here for a full season should help. And they're a young team. Quentin Grimes is a young guy. What is he, 22, turning 23? A 23-year-old Quentin Grimes coming off of a season where he averaged double-digit points on great efficiency. I mean, his true shooting percentage was 61.9%, basically 62%. You feel like it only goes up from there. So I guess, if I wanted to ask you one question when it comes to Quentin Grimes, I think the big one here is, what do you think is the area of growth he absolutely has to make? Like, this is the one area where if he wants to take that next step, this is the specific thing he has to do better next season.
It's gonna sound ironic maybe, but shooting. And the reason I say that is because of confidence. Like I said, it seemed like there were times where he was playing a little too fast, not really going with the rhythm of the game, kind of trying to force shots either inside or try to make plays that weren't really necessary. It kind of just strayed away from the catch and shoot spot up, which is what we wanted him out there for. Passing up open shots or passing up good looks. If he can just, take more shots and just, find his shot and get in a rhythm and really get hot from 3 for a full season or for most of the season, then you're golden. And that'll be a confidence boost right there. We've already seen his defensive prowess. I mean, look at Game 5 of the second round against Miami. Grimes played all 48 minutes, locked up Jimmy Butler on one leg. That play still blows my mind to this day, and that happened a month ago. But, I think, we already see, what he can do defensively. And we already see, he hustles hard, he plays hard, he always gives 100% no matter what, which is what I love about Grimes, and that'll always play well when a player's developing. But with shooting, it's not that he's a bad shooter. No, of course not. I mean, the guy shot almost 40% from three and averaged 11 points. That's great for a second year player. I just want to see him get confident because it felt like the stats won't tell you this, but it felt like there were times where he just didn't feel as confident out there from three and he was trying to do some other things that he didn't necessarily need to do. Now, am I saying that he should not, play make more or drive in the basket? No, absolutely not. Take advantage of your athleticism. But we do want him to shoot the ball as well. That's why he's out there. We need shooting. So far, I mean, last season he was basically like our only respectable 3-point shooter outside of like Brunson. But Brunson's work is, of course, in the mid range and the inside. Grimes is primarily supposed to be our shooter, and it felt like at times he wasn't confident enough to shoot it more often. If he can just shoot it more often and get that shot to fall and really get in the rhythm, you can see his point per game average rise up to like 14, maybe even 15 if he really lets it fly. You could see that happen, and you could see positive growth right there on that side of the ball. Because like I said, we feel like we already see what he can do defensively. It feels like that there isn't much he needs to improve on defensively. I feel like this was the most development you're going to get out of it because, like you said, he guarded the team's best player almost every single game. He had the hardest defensive assignments out of anybody really this year, and he always hustled on defense and stuff like that. So you feel like he's already had a lot of development on that side. So now you just want to see him grow confidence on the offensive side because the Knicks badly need offense, right? That was their biggest flaw in the playoffs. So if you can get him confident from outside and you can get him to shoot the ball and just knock it down and feel confident, then the offense instantly will get better. Simple as that. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, no, I think end of the day, the offense, right? If the Knicks are able to get some, improved shooting and just get have a Quentin Grimes who can really be, and I think he is a threat from three. You're not going to leave him open, but if he can really, improve upon that, become one of the elite shooters in the NBA. Suddenly teams are going to have a hard time not only covering Grimes, but now that opens up spacing in the interior, right? That sets up lob situations for Mitchell Robinson. Jalen Brunson obviously loves that floater, so he can go to that shot more. Randall likes driving to the basket. He can do that a lot more and a lot more effectively. It just creates more space for this Knicks team. And, we talked about this in the RJ episode, right? Right now, RJ Barrett's here, right? And right now, RJ Barrett isn't a great shooter, but we've seen that he has effectiveness driving to the basket. If Quentin Grimes can open up some lanes, could that help RJ Barrett be a little more effective of a scorer next year? Perhaps. We'll have to wait and see on that front. Personally, I feel like it's defensive consistency. Not that he's not a good defender, but if you can consistently be that positive defender on really tough assignments, that's only going to make the Knicks so much better. I mean, good Lord, you think about what the Knicks are capable of if they have Grimes going out there and just being known as that lockdown guy, right? I know the Knicks was thinking about trading for OG Anunoby, but can Quentin Grimes be kind of an OG Anunoby type player? Guards another team's best defender. I think he's a better offensive player than Anunoby. I think he has a better offensive ceiling. I think he's shown he has a better offensive ceiling. Can he just match the defensive value? I think he's totally capable of it, right? And if he can get to that level, man, we're talking 15 points per game, let's say, on pretty good efficiency, great shooting from three, giving you great defense on the team's best player. Man, we're talking about an invaluable piece to your starting lineup. We're talking about one of those guys where, you feel their absence when they're not in the starting lineup. You feel their absence when they're not, on the court. That's the type of player I feel like Quentin Grimes can definitely be. Again, kind of like Emmanuel Quickley, where it's like, can impact the game without necessarily shooting too well, can impact the game without putting up ridiculous stats, right? We saw games where Quickley would go out there, drop 8 points on like two for 6 on the floor, and it's a +5 or +6 in the box, plus minus. You're like, hey, this stat guess sucks. And it's like, no, not Quentin Grimes. Quickly positively affected the game because he's able to create shots for other players. He's able to play great defense, right? That's something I think Quentin Grimes is more than capable of. And in the NBA, yes, you have your superstar level talent, obviously, right? You dream about having that, number one guy go to is an MVP candidate, but without depth, really realistically, what are they, right? Jokic finally on a finals run, but that's with Jamal Murray finally back and MPJ healthy and Aaron Gordon having a really good year and guys like Bruce Brown and Christian Brown and guys like that, stepping up and being good role players. That's how you win a championship. First, you have to obviously have a star level player and a player capable of guiding you and being the best player on the court at any given point in time, but you also need the depth to get the job done. I think Quentin Grimes gives the Knicks an opportunity to get that. So with that being said, if you have any final thoughts, Dylan, I'd love to hear them.
Right. I mean, basically, all I got to say is, I just want to see more aggressiveness offensively. And I'm not saying that he wasn't aggressive offensively this past season. He was. He did try to, impact the offense in some way, and he always played with a lot of pace, and I love that. I want to see more necessarily aggressiveness from three. and confidence from three because they badly need shooting. We have enough guys that work well inside. We have enough of that. We got three guys that are star level players that work amazingly inside. And I'm not saying you can't have too much of it, but at the same time, you want to have spacing. And Grimes is supposed to be that guy that enhances the spacing, that shoots the ball a lot, and that gets us 3-pointers. It well rounds the offense and all that stuff. So I just want to see more of it. It's as simple as that. I love what I've seen in year two. I loved it. I thought it was a positive year for him. I believe when we graded him, we gave him like an A or an A minus. We gave him a pretty good grade because it just overall was a pretty solid development year for him, on both sides of the ball. I just want to see more, and of course I expect to see more. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Quentin Grimes didn't do enough in year two. No, I think he did perfectly good in year two. I think it was a good year. I just want, I'm just ready to see more in year three. I'm ready to see him continue to grow. And I think it starts with, getting confidence from three. Because he has, like I said, he has such a quick release that he can be a lot more aggressive with that 3-point shot. He does not need to hold back. He can be really aggressive with that shot and just let it fly. Defenders are going to have a tough time closing out on him because he plays so quick, and he plays with that quick jumper, with that quick jab step, those pump fakes, all that stuff. He plays so fast, it's tough for defenders to keep up with him. So take advantage of that and get aggressive from three. That's what I want to see. I agree, though, with your point that, more athleticism is also going to be helpful, too, and the defensive impact. I totally agree with it wholeheartedly. I mainly just want to see some aggressiveness from three. That's my big thing, because I think if he does that, one, it'll raise his total point value, but it'll also open up the floor for the Knicks and their star players to go to work. That's what I think about it. You got any thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think end of the day, aggressiveness from three, going out there and say, hey, you know what? I can shoot a team off the court. And I think Quentin Grimes is more than capable of doing that. Again, we're talking about the three ball, right? All it takes is a hot night. You take 8 attempts and you hit 7 of them, right? Obviously, that's not sustainable over the course of a full season, but in one game that can absolutely happen. And that's 21 points, right? That's a difference between, hey, we went in there and we lost. We lost by the skin of our teeth. Or, hey, we just ran that team off the court. We just ran in there. We blew them out, right? And Quentin Grimes is more than capable of that, especially in a modern NBA sense, where the Knicks are trying to go in terms of what they need to improve. They just need to be a little more modern in terms of their offense. I think they're more than capable of it. I think it was just a lack of the personnel capable of doing that. But I think Grimes is more than capable of stepping up and doing that. So I think that's a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm glad you emphasized the shooting because, again, this is a team that needs to get better in that regard. This is a team that, we're watching in the postseason, right? Teams that can get hot from three and teams that have the firepower to get hot from three, they can punch above their talent level. The Miami Heat got to a finals just, they wake up one day and they're unstoppable from three. And I think the Knicks are capable of, getting to a point where they can shoot another team off the court. So with that being said, we'd love to hear what you guys have to say about Quentin Grimes in the comment section below. Personally, I think we're both pretty high on Quentin Grimes, but I think he's given the Knicks a lot of reasons to. He's one of those players where it's like the type of game he has, the style of game he has, adapts to the modern NBA, and so I'm really excited to see what he can do in year three, especially since he'll have probably an opportunity to take a little bit more shots and get a little more aggressive. But again, we'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. Please join in on the conversation and add in your takes. You guys can tweet at us on Twitter. You guys can check us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and of course this YouTube page. The audio version of this podcast will be out on Apple Podcast and Spotify, so if you want to check that out, you guys can, and leave a 5-star rating if you may. And with that being said, you guys can check out our Twitter accounts. They're above our head. I don't really use mine, so just follow Dylan's. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.